Each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
Oh, wait, with your host, Keith Barney. I forgot.
And Mike? What's happening?
Way back in high school,
I was too into dancing, okay? I forgot.
Okay.
My mom watched QVC, so I was no practice. There was no TiVo. What could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
What's in the box, Mike? What's in the box?
Out of practice.
The slow death of, not so slow death of people buying actual gifts for one another and not just mail ordering them?
Out of practice.
Actually, Keith, the answer is probably Omicron.
It very well could be. And on that wonderful note, welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly podcast in which me and my Mike... Should we just start over? This is a disaster.
No way. We are in. And thank you. That's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. I am yours, Keith. You've got my heart for Christmas.
Aw, that's so great. I've always been disappointed with my presents. We are here to talk about David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week we are talking about Season 7, Episode 16, Special Deliveries. We all know how I'm doing. How are you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing all right. It's fake it till you make it season, where we scramble to make last-minute plans for the holiday. Is Jen's mom coming? Is she not coming? Are we driving out to Long Island? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? Should we have it figured out by now? Probably. Should I have all my gifts bought? Most likely. Or am I still waiting for them to arrive in the mail, but sadly disappointed that they're not showing up till January 17th? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that all sounds right. I mean, at this point, like, making plans is sort of silly, because if you're listening to this historically, we are recording this on December 18th, 2021. Right at the leading edge of what is going to be the Omicron fun throughout the holidays, where we're starting to see, I think there were 6 or 7 Broadway shows down yesterday.
The entire Rockettes.
The entire Rockettes shut down for the rest of the season, and which is, a little startling. Although we were discussing it yesterday. Much more data to come, so this statement may look rather foolish in the future, and I apologize in advance on that. But if people are vaccinated fully, it seems as though the cases are way up, but the serious cases among those vaccinated seem to be down, seem to be relatively low, which is really good news, and probably something we're going to have to get used to in the future. For the unvaccinated, I don't know. That's on you. You don't, it's if you don't wear a seatbelt, all we can do is remind you to wear a seatbelt, and I don't know. We'll ticket you $25 if you're not wearing it. But after that, that's on you, bud.
People don't need to hear me say this, hopefully. But well, I'm going to say it anyway. It's on my mind. This is what we do. We talk it out. The problem with what you just said, Keith, though I agree 100%, is that even amongst the vaccinated and those who are doing everything right, there are the immunocompromised of us, correct?
Yes,
and
there certainly are.
Because it turns out a very large chunk of people have decided to not be vaccinated and not heed the very easy, if that's your choice, there are still other things you can do to somewhat protect yourself and others, but it seems people have chosen not to do that. And New York is a great example. It was an example in the very beginning of this pandemic. It is an example now. New York has been pretty stringent on their vaccination rules and where you can eat and all the things you can do. And they've, for the most part, I think, been an example of how to get things back to a normal. But even the best laid plans can be destroyed if things mutate because we can't get everyone on the same page.
Yep. No, and it's absolutely true. And I think that, I think everyone is frustrated, frustrated by the situation in general and how destructive and sad and scary this all is. But that's sort of a, force majeure. That's fate. But people's behavior and not protecting themselves and others is something that is, frankly, unforgivable. So do your own research into not being a monster and take care of yourself and others. Get all of your vaccines. And frankly, it's going to happen. I have a feeling we're going to be living with this forever. Like every 6 months for the rest of our lives, we're going to get a COVID shot just like our flu shot. And it's going to be important that we do that. Anyway, why don't we move forward to a cheerier topic? And I believe we have some hot animal content, Mike, in a little segment we call...
We have tried for years to make this podcast a success.
We failed.
It's time to give the world what it wants. Meow, meow. Hot cash content. Meow, meow. Hot cash content. Meow, meow. Hot cash content.
Oh, Keith, I'm so happy that you pitched this as happy news.
Oh, no.
So... Y'all, my fish that I inherited from my sister as she went away on summer vacation, I took him over, and him or her, unclear, and they, yes, and it's been great because all of my years before I got married, when I lived in the city, I didn't have a pet, so I had a little fish that I kept alive. I've talked about it before, and they live forever, like 3, 4, 5 years each, and so I took over my sister's, and it was great. It really speaks to my sort of OCD in a way. And long story short, this fish has gotten pretty sick recently. And I thought that it could potentially be because it's wintertime now, and they really thrive in like 78 to 80 degrees. And it's not that temperature in my apartment, so I got them a heater, all these things. Still not responding well, getting really lethargic, not eating, all the signs of like fishy's about to exit this plane. And, but in, kind of tied to what we were talking about before, Keith, this COVID surge now is just a reminder of like how little control we have over things, even if you think you've got it back, your vaccination. So anyway, I've now I found myself pushing my need for control onto this poor fish. I should probably just let nature take its course, but goddamn no. I bought a bubbler. I bought another heater. I've tried to like get the nitrate levels and the ammonia levels in the tank properly. I'm trying to brute force will this fish back to life. But I feel that maybe after the holiday, you're going to see on a podcast where I introduce the world to new fish.
New fish. Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, no, I get it. But I think at this point, I certainly wish your fish well and hope that it makes it. Of course, we all do. But it's funny how we're all searching for some way to control something, some way to like have some sense of efficacy, some sense of controlling your own destiny. And for me, it's the weirdest thing. After so many years of just like not caring about such things, now I'm like, dishes can't be in the sink. For whatever reason, it's like a new development. It's like in the last year, I'm like, no, there will not be dishes in the sink. I don't know why I now care about that with like a fiery passion. I don't know why. Like,
I think you do know why. I think you do know why.
Some search for some level of control over our lives.
But for all who are curious and worried about our mental health, I do want to say that, thankfully, my insurance now just sent me a flyer that all telehealth mental health services are now covered fully free out of pocket. So,
no kidding, really?
The second I got that mailer, I was on my insurance website, and I have now I have a couple of consultations coming up right after the holiday to see who I will be proceeding with.
Oh, future. Fantastic! Oh yeah, well I do that. I'm a BetterHelp guy.
Yeah, I'm sad to give up my New York therapist, but just couldn't afford it any longer.
Yeah.
And now I'm happy to be back on the train.
Wow, well, I'm gonna have to talk offline, see if I can get my insurance to do that. It'd be amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, on all of these, we've started oddly depressing today.
Yeah.
Let's
guys, what's the name? What should the name of Keith and I's sort of just like we're just gabbing and talking about mental health and mundane daily bullshit? What should that podcast be called? Because it sure as hell
the Out
shouldn't
of
be on
Practice
this show.
podcast.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
By this point, it's just the Out of Practice podcast. But guess what? We have a new person who has joined our Filings and Subpoenas with some interesting questions in a segment we call
Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas.
Okay, so we have heard from a new friend Anton, who has
Hey,
some
Anton.
questions, and he said, been watching some of you and Mike's videos on the practice, found them entertaining. My question is, and this is interesting because it asks us to zoom out a little bit,
Okay.
and perhaps we can give a slight preview of where we might be headed for our series ending Oopsies. But the question is, what is your favorite season and episode of the show? Which couple do you think? All right. So that's part two. So I gave back some general answers, but in a very quick, off the top of your head, general answer. What do you think the best season or two or episode or two have been on the practice thus far?
Well, without like really going back into and looking at the stuff, it's hard to answer. So we will get much more specific when we wrap this up for real. But I do recall, I think it was season 3 or 4, where we end up in at Fenway Park with the big wedding. I found that to be a satisfying conclusion to a season. I remember that feeling like a nice, pretty bow on top of a nice season and wrapping it up. As far as favorite episodes, I have to say, even though I know we've talked about how problematic they are, I think the Joey Herrick episodes stand out to me, as well as it still stands out. The first death penalty episode we did with Jimmy in that very documentary style.
Yes. That was it was in season 2. It was the
Pursuit of Happiness? No.
Spirit of America.
That one sticks out to me as one that really moved me because it was a bottle episode, but it was also, I think, the show distilled to what it does best, which is take a topic, explore it, and show character change because of it. And I thought it did that very well. So that's, for now, what I'm going to go with, so as to not be verbose.
No, I think that I agree with you. I think for me, just off the top of my head, I think seasons 4 and 5 in the middle of the series, I thought were probably the strongest. Yes on obviously Joey Herrick is problematic looking back. But the episodes themselves, setting aside the problematic parts, are really excellent. I agree. Spirit of America is great. I certainly liked Mr. Hinks Goes to Town. I think is a terrific episode. The Anthony Held episodes were really good. The Super Bowl episode was really good. So, all right. So here's part 2 of the question, and this is one I feel
before
like
you get to question 2, because
Yeah.
I want to put this into the universe, and maybe one of us will remember to talk about it when we get to the end.
Not a chance.
Is I think that one of the big takeaways, Keith, and I agree with you. I love the characters, and thus I've loved this experiment we've done. But one of the things I'm interested to talk to you about, because I think it'll be really interesting to talk to you about, because like we said, I'm going to adjudicate it based on my one and only watch through, whereas you are revisiting something that you held a love for in your heart. I'm curious if you'll have changed your opinion at all, because for me, what I'm seeing, what I think I might love more than the show is what the show could have been. It was so close. There's so many episodes or arcs or even characters. Mr. Hinks is a great example, where if they just deked instead of danked, it could have been like superb. You know what I mean? Like they end up killing off characters that could have been incredible. They add pieces. And there are reasons for all of those things, I'm sure, that we won't get into. But there are so many inflection points throughout the arc of the whole series where it could have gone to like a place where it could have gone West Wing. You know what I mean? It could have been iconic.
Well, I think West Wing being the notable exception, I think we're going to talk about the limitations of 22 episode network television that we have. Speaking, we danked instead of dinked on prestige television between then and now. Now there would be 12 episodes. It would be on a streaming service, so there would not be the censorship they were dealing with. They would have had a little bit more time. They wouldn't have been limited by 42 minutes and all of the act breaks that they have to wake. Like, what you see here is not a lack of aspiration, but a bunch of limitations that are in the medium that they were on. That I think, and you see David E. Kelley today doesn't really do that anymore. Now he works in a pool that gives him the freedom and time and money to get closer to what he would actually want to do, and not have to be limited by the time frame and the 42 minutes and the censorship and the blah 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 blah, but also not having to pump out 22 episodes a year for 7-8 years. That is just so much material. It's like what we do. If we only did 8 episodes of Out of Practice, it'd be probably pretty good. But instead we have like 200, and you see it starts to stretch a little.
Well, though, us, much like you just said, television and television writing will evolve and learn from those past mistakes.
We will. We are going to learn from this experience as we move forward. All right, so here's part 2 of the question, which I found super interesting. And I think we are closer to being able to answer this question now. And that is, which couple do you think is the best match? Bobby and Lindsay or Bobby and Helen?
Well, we didn't really get to see the Bobby and Helen much.
Behind the scenes. Right.
I will say that there are a lot of challenges with Bobby and Lindsay, but I like that it's not just what I found interesting is that we've gotten to see a lot of those warts, right? And we've gotten to see Bobby be kind of a bastard, but we've also gotten to see him stick by her, and we've seen some of their conflict and conflict resolution styles, and for better or for worse. And so I like that depiction, and I like that what they didn't do was, will they, won't they? Okay, now they're together, now they're apart. Now they're together, now they're apart. Now, do I find some of Bobby's behavior, not really Bobby's behavior, troubling? Because yes, some of his like weird, I don't want to call them affairs, but whatever, his Black Widow obsession. But it's more the writing sort of dismissal of them, right? And then we're just back to the romance, and we're never supposed to question. I have problems with that, but long story short, I would have liked to have seen Bobby and Helen because they're both such volatile personalities that there would have been some fireworks. But that said, I enjoy Bobby and Lindsay. I will say I do feel sad that we haven't given Helen anybody. Nor have we gotten to really. Well, I was going to say we haven't really explored the relationship with Eleanor and her baby, or Bobby
the baby sort of got deleted.
Yeah, but that makes sense. It's not, the show's not about that. It's not Grey's Anatomy, right? It's not. It's not about their personal lives as much. So I'm happy with Bobby and Lindsay. I'm glad that they saw it through and they haven't like killed one of them yet.
Yeah, For me, I'm going to answer the question from a slightly different standpoint, as opposed to like what would I enjoy watching more. I'm gonna go from like a matchmaker kind of a place. I'm gonna be the Yenta here, and I frankly think there's a better case for Bobby and Helen than there is for Bobby and Lindsay, based on both of those characters' limitations. Right, Bobby is not going to be a traditionally great partner. He's obsessed with his work. He's obsessed with his cases. He's obsessed with, he's a little selfish. He's a little self-absorbed. He's not emotionally available. right? We've seen this over and over. He's not super evolved emotionally. So I wouldn't want to like cuddle with Bobby, but I would like to have a great kitchen table fiery discussion of the law and get out of the way so he can pursue his passions. He's like an artist. He's like George from Sunday in the Park, but just about the law. Not a great partner, great artist. And so Lindsay keeps butting up against that. Lindsay, I think, wants a little bit more of a traditional relationship where they're together and intimate and talking about life and kids and being much more involved in each other emotionally. Whereas Helen feels very much like Bobby. And I think as a couple, if they could sort of just accept and acknowledge their limitations, and we are going to meet on this common ground and sort of let each other do their thing, we'll see. And I think there might be a healthier relationship in that as opposed to trying to make a square peg fit in a round hole. If they're both square pegs, I don't know. Maybe they could have found a way to make it work out.
I like it. I'm gonna put a cherry on top by saying what I really could have used all this time was just more Jimmy and Kittleson. Yeah.
But what's so if Jimmy and Kittleson had like a pop culture name, what would it be? Would it be Kimmy or Jiddleson?
Oh, I like Jiddleson quite a bit. Give him the good old Jiddleson. All right,
our
what do we got
vote
next?
is for Jiddleson. Mike, if anybody else would like to hop in with some questions, how would they do that?
Oh my God, we love your questions. See how seriously we took that, by the way? You can send them to us in a variety of ways. Number one, send us an old-fashioned email, outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. Or you could comment right here on the YouTubes. You don't even have to open up your mail program. Either myself, Keith, or moderator Phoenix Cage will get back to you in the YouTubes. Hey, you can also hit us up on the social media at Out of Practice Podcast on either Facebook or Instagram. And hey, if you're feeling fancy, Anton, go ahead and leave a review of what you thought of the episode on the Apple iTunes podcast store and let us know, and we'll add you to that jury.
Indeed. All right.
Wait, and not only that, did you love us? You can give us money, too. You can give us a one-time donation or a continuing subscription. You can do that with the links in the show notes. People still do it, even though my guess is that they're not supporting us as much as just forgot to cancel.
Well, we accept your forgotten to cancel money just as much as we do your intentional money. So, love it. All right, folks, it is now time to hop back into the time machine and start talking about the era in which this episode aired. And this aired on March 24th, 2003. So, it is time to answer the question, Mike, what was going on
This day in the basement?
You know, Keith, last week, we made a startling revelation of omission.
Yes.
That I had forgotten about my my television debut, if you will, as my colleague and friend Tina carted me off to a Top of the Pops recording of the top hit from 50 Cent and G Unit in the Club back in 2003. Yeah. And I just wanted to let everybody know that the good news is that it has not been lost to antiquity.
No.
It does indeed live on. I assume, yes.
Yeah, there it is.
Now,
I
am amongst
YouTube
that crowd.
strike?
I am in that crowd there, Keith, somewhere in the very, very back, because I was so not hip-hop or urban. We'll leave it there. But I will point out that I do have this image here that points out precisely where I was.
Yes.
You can't see me.
But we know you're there.
But I'm there in a gray hoodie, wishing I was anywhere else. Because my friend Tina, the second we showed up, they sent me that way in the back, and they put her right up front with the other I think that's her right there, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
amazing.
But nonetheless, that's where I was here in 2003.
Making your television debut.
Yep, and they were like, "Is that the only shirt you brought?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "Put the hood up and don't move too much." Oh man,
amazing. And they lip synced like 100 times.
yeah,
They've multiple takes. Well,
so many takes.
there you go. The magic of television, huh?
What about you, buddy?
That's all right. Well, that is exciting. So you know what else was exciting? Sort of. So this is March 24th, 2003. If you were in my family, it was a big deal because on March 20th, 2003 was the beginning of the Iraq War. And certainly we were all pretty mad, pretty upset. And we're sending a lot of emails back and forth. One of them titled "The Big Lie," which is interesting to because we're now in part 2 of The Big Lie. And but it was funny to use that same vocabulary about the pretense for going into war, which didn't go great. But a lot of my grandfather, which you know what, I'm going to save that for this day in the world. But I will say this: what we were doing as a family in Italy, in Europe, their sort of anti-war symbol became a peace flag. Which I have a picture of here, that was flying on our deck in Vermont, and we had one in Italy, in Alaska, in Burlington, for all over the family. That was the sort of European symbol in protest of the war. So we were flying that flag, and disappointingly proven right. That, as it turns out, the pretense was fake, and it was a terrible idea. So there it is. But that was, go ahead.
This is so many years later, actually. I'm so wrong. Like, I was just going to ask you if you remember that song that, like we love as a country to like get together and release a song to get money. And there was, We Are the World way back in the day. But then we had one for this conflict, Middle East conflict, because at the time, the majority of Americans were not educated in the intricacies of the Middle East, and it all blurred together. Kuwait, Iraq, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And so, but because originally back in the early '90s we had the Desert Storm and Desert Shield,
right?
Which then ties in, is the sort of prequel to this conflict because.
Yep.
But I believe that the song I'm thinking of was for those. Do you recall what that was?
Are you gonna play the "Proud to Be an American"?
Nope, no. There was an actual like, hey, donate. We're singing this song. We're a bunch of artists. Donate your money. Okay, you'll remember once I start playing it.
All right. Let's hear it.
Lonely fear lights up the sky. Can't help but wonder why.
I don't remember this.
Let's see if I can get to the hook.
I don't remember this.
Voices That Care? You don't remember Voices That Care?
Apparently, I did not. My ears didn't care. I don't know about my voice.
Oh, you can't forget that Kenny G solo right there.
Oh, is that Kenny G? Wow.
Voices That Care, shouting out loud. Sorry, I gotta go for it. And when you close your eyes tonight, feel... Oh my God, it's Sally Field.
Sally Field.
I'm gonna leave this link in the show notes. You gotta watch this. Michael Bolton, Sally Field. I think that's the guy Dudley Moore.
Dudley Moore.
A who's who of '92 pop culture.
Oh my God.
Anyway, sorry, that has nothing to do with. I guess it does tangentially.
Look, they all can't be.
Like she's never
Somebody is literally throwing their iPhone out of the car window right now.
to golden
Look, if they respected their ears, they wouldn't have listened this far to begin with.
Yeah,
so.
you're right. Eagle soar,
Cut it.
soar with
Something in your heart. All right. Wow, that's
Let's just get canceled.
as the land beneath her
Play them together. Play yours too.
Oh, it's playing.
only God, no other
Wow. Okay. All right. Mercy on all of us. It's Christmas, Mike. Let's have some mercy.
Oh, wait for mercy because I'm about to play a recorder cover of In the Club. So
In a segment we call
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Yes. Did you play the recorder in school?
no, I think I
They
learned.
taught
I
us
think in
recorder.
music we did the first learned scales on it.
Yeah. We all played the recorder. Wow. All right, so of course we're talking about March 24th, the year 2003. The top song continued to be the hit In the Club, 50 Cent featuring Mike and Deglio swaying in a hoodie. The top movie was Bringing Down the House once again with Steve Martin and Queen Latifah. And the local Burlington Free Press had a picture of my grandparents
Hey.
right on the cover of the local section as they were protesting the war in front of the state capitol. So the time and space converge here on the Out of Practice podcast. My grandparents who we did tributes to on the show previously. All right, so now it is time to talk about something far more important than war and peace and Helen and Jiddleson. A segment we call
It's time for sports ball.
The Boston Bruins beat the Leafs 3-2 at the Fleet Center with Mike Knuble scoring the winning goal in the third. Meanwhile, the Flyers thrashed the now-defunct Thrashers 6-2 in Philly. Henzu scored twice with Romanek and Amonte also scoring, and Forcer Donald Brashear contributed 2 assists. Okay, folks, you deserve this.
I'm a human being, god damn it! My life has value, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
It's time to talk about the damn episode!
Okay, mercifully, we are talking about Season 7, Episode 16, Special Deliveries. It was written by David E. Kelley and directed by, guess what? A first-time The Practice
Hey,
director. It's been a while since we've had a first-time director. Directed by Ron Hardy, veteran director who directed episodes of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, the good one, The X-Files, and the Mission Impossible 1989 series. Did you watch the 89 Mission Impossible series?
No.
I really liked that. My Saturday night lineup when I was 89, 90, when I was a child, was the reboot of Sea Hunt into the reboot of Mission Impossible, the 1989 version, into, of course, Star Trek The Next Generation, into Hockey Night in Canada, finished with Baywatch at 11, then Acapulco Heat
Wow.
at midnight. It was a big Saturday night.
I'll tell you, around that time, like the late 80s, early 90s, my Saturdays included 2 of my all-time favorites I used to watch with my mom, actually. I wish I could go back in time and have done like an early podcast with my mom on cassette. Because
my God.
we watched the entire run of both series, and they both aired on Saturday nights.
Which series?
Maybe on ABC too. So Quantum Leap,
Of course.
and The Commish with Michael Chiklis.
Oh, no kidding.
Love The Commish, man. We should revisit The Commish, but time is short.
Who doesn't love Michael Chiklis? There it is. All right. So, folks, we're now talking about the episode, and we have one important thing to answer.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
What?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
I'm going to keep it brief here, man. Okay? We have two things. We got to do something that's jump in the shark, and we got to do something that's sexy. Well, there's nothing sexier. We don't have to invent anything sexy. We've got two of the sexiest lawyers, nay, women in the greater Boston area, in Lindsay Dole and Claire or something. And they're sitting cheek to cheek, if you will, and I mean butt cheek, in a jail cell. Why? Because if you recall last week, they had this murderer buddy who did a murder and then is just like watching the murder body of a little girl in a rocking chair. And Lindsay knows where that girl is.
Yep.
But she won't tell. And her new hire, Pukey McClare, won't tell neither. Claire McPuke or Pukey McClare, you decide. Right, workshop it.
Jiddleson.
Yes. And then on the other episode, in the other case, you might recall that we got the Oedipal murderous couple who, couple I say, but I mean it's a mother and son.
Insinuated.
And they just got off for a murder? Probably. Keith thinks it's pretty obvious. I said, well, let's retain the ambiguity just for the lore. Regardless, somehow those two strands will cross this week, Keith. And what ends up happening, because there's too much sexy in Lindsay's office,
right?
We have to get Claire off the show only 3 episodes in. And so what we're going to do is something happens, whereas in defense of Lindsay, who's being attacked by either the murderous son and mom couple or our murder buddy client, one of the two, I can't decide. Trump is going to try to kill Lindsay, but in response, Claire McPukey does the murder. So she's murderess Clary McPuke.
Pukelson is going to murder somebody 3 episodes after joining the credits?
Heard it here first, folks. Heard it here first.
Jump that shark. Oh, wow. All right, folks. Now it is your turn to jump over to your podcasting service of choice to listen to us, listen to the episode. We'll see you back here on the YouTubes for the Oopsies.
And we are back, baby.
Whew! I am excited to hear how Mike is going to recap this episode in a segment we call...
2, 3, 4. Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show. Segment.
I don't know. The guy, maybe he killed his mom after all that, and because, they were going to put him away, and then, but we're not sure, but I guess we are sure. And then the other guy that is a delivery guy, but he's also a joke, but he's keeps killing people and shipping their bodies to Lindsay, who is now not in love with Bobby, so she's breaking up with him for reasons. And then in the other case, something happened. That was that. I think that was that. I think I covered it.
Okay. Well, that was confusing. Let's be confused again in fewer syllables in a segment we call...
That countdown is my confusion, Keith. My countdown of patience left. I also forgot to do the OOPSY, so here we go.
Oh, here we go. Let's do it.
Mail me the body.
Mike counts on his fingers.
I guess the son killed his mom? Lindsay is fed up.
Yes. Well done. On the fly. Well done, sir.
It wasn't great.
No, I thought that was a better recap than your 30 seconds.
Well,
I feel like that really
that's
did
not a high bar to surmount.
We're not about high bars, but we are about high production values for our intro for our award show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
Pow. What the hell are the Oopsies?
Well, Jackie, they're a fake award show that begin with the very prestigious the gift that I want to unwrap that under my tree every day.
So does your mom. Keith, this episode fucking blew my mind in so many ways. I don't think I was prepared for it. I was actually ready for like a really good episode to conclude this, but wow. Talk about Cole. So who did anybody do good lawyering here? I guess, Lindsay somehow, I don't know if it's her lawyering, though. I was going to say, it is a goddamn miracle that this man is not in prison. He's not even a good serial killer. He's very bad at it. He keeps showing up. His fingerprints are all over everything. He's the only thing keeping him out of prison is his lawyer, who somehow just keeps her mouth shut and does not employ any of the tactics she could have used to get him in prison. But
and there are apparently no police, in this city. Ray Abruzzo, what are you doing? This guy's not smart enough to. He's making so many costume changes.
Yeah,
how could you
clearly
not
he
have caught
showed
him
up
by
at
now?
the office a few times to drop off a dead body. Maybe just hang out at the office for a while.
I don't know. Maybe.
There was no resolution in the other case. I don't know, Kent. Well, you tell me. I have no idea.
No, I'll tell you who the MVL is. From the standpoint of his client, that goes to attorney Barry Peterson, which was Russell Bakey's lawyer who kept him out of the insane asylum.
Oh yeah.
So, the only legal maneuvering that actually happened was the civil case that Helen tried to put up and got smacked down by the judge.
Yeah, but had he been committed, his life would have been saved.
This isn't about saving lives. This is about...
Clearly not.
It's within the courtroom. I don't know. It's a mess. Barry Peterson, he's the MVL. Congratulations. I just declared that for both of us. You get the MVL. Coming up next, it's time for Best Guess, but I feel like today, because we've been going double time all of season 7, this feels like halftime Best Guess.
I agree.
Okay,
That's what the writing staff was working on.
Already famous because you've been on TV, getting a paycheck. Or the first entry on your
I'm going
IMDb.
quarter time.
Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Special delivery. I actually think that the woman who played the Academy Award nominee
Leslie Ann
Warren gave a great performance here, whereas it was a little they had a particular style in mind last episode. This episode, I actually felt like here was a woman who was maybe still sexually attracted to her son, but also felt bad about what he might have done, or was conflicted, or was coming to terms with and having a realization. She was doing some heavy lifting emotionally, which I thought was great, and still was able to tie that to a performance last week where she had to be a little more potentially antagonistic. So I thought it was a really good performance in a fucking mess of a tonal episode.
Yeah. Well, here's
disagree.
the thing. I can't give it to her, and it's not for reasons that are not her fault, right? Because she's had to play two completely different characters in these two episodes. Like last episode, she's this like evil, like conniving, she's like angry and manipulative, and we think maybe she did it. This episode, nope, never mind. She's just like a nice, normal mom, and I don't know which one is the truth. I just know that she was written to be two completely different characters, which she played perfectly well. But it's not her fault. She played it straight. They just should have changed the name of the character. So I'm actually going to give mine to Tom Barry as Judge Watson, who just had one little speech there, but I felt like, oh, for a second there, we were in the real world. And so there it is, Tom Barry. You wouldn't have expected. The underdog comes in and gets half an oopsie. All right, now it is time for...
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Well, I think Kelly Williams this week, I won't say Lindsay Dole. Everybody was kind of given disservice this week by just like I can't imagine reading the script and trying to make heads or tails of it, but I feel like Lindsay had the most to do emotionally, and trying to justify all of that as an actress, and ground it and try to like make it all work is she did yeoman's work. She was given a lot this week to make heads or tails of. They all were. We'll talk about it more, but I think she did the best under the circumstances.
Yeah, no, I think so. She did a really good job. I mean, honestly, like the scenes with her and Bobby, I thought she did an excellent job. I mean, as the character of Bobby is a bad actor. Dylan did a great job acting Bobby not being able to act. But her character's motivations, especially as it relates to the serial killer, make no sense whatsoever. But she's clearly emotionally invested in what is happening. And it's not her fault. But she did a really good job. So congratulations, Kelly Williams. It's not your fault.
High praise indeed.
That's right. Okay. Speaking of somebody who it's always their fault.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
I'll keep it brief. Tom Brady being delivered in a giant package.
Oh, in a giant package. All right. Congratulations, Tom Brady, being delivered in a giant package. Tom Brady for winning the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady. All right. Look out, kids. This is the one we're going to need to stretch for.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
What the hell was that? I don't even know where to begin. I have not collected my thoughts. We sort of had, if you haven't picked up by listening to the episode, I don't know. I can't make heads or tails of what just happened. The tonal inconsistency is off the charts. The fact that it's the second part of a two-parter that is almost completely divorced from the first part, whereas in one of the cases, in the Lindsay case, she continues to make the same stupid mistakes with completely predictable outcomes, and then serves up somebody for murder blatantly, and even Kelly was like tried her best to not act as if she was doing it on purpose, but it's almost like Lindsay can't be that stupid. She cannot be that stupid, and thus you can almost read intent in it, even though you know that that's not it. It's just it's just served so wrongly. In the other case, they completely changed the character, one of the characters. They completely changed the entire dynamic between the characters. And then they have Helen. I'm not even going to try to like parse it. It's unparsable. It's bad. It feels. I don't even know if it's just terrible writing. If is it laziness? Is it just like whatever? Let's just wrap this shit up and like make it create. And then you add the Bobby Lindsay thing, which, to be frank, I mean, I think part of me is just mourning because, and it is clear, like all the stuff they've been through. They've clearly made it clear that he's not very emotionally supportive. He hasn't done the work. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense. She's coming from a place of honesty too, and they made Dylan like really be a bad. But I don't see that that's serving anything. It feels like something they're like maybe in the writing room they're like we can split them up and then maybe we can bring them back together and it'll give us somewhere to go. But it just feels like added on top of all this other shit that's a big fucking mess in the episode is like just I don't know. It loses impact because of where it's stuck in I think in this episode. But the most egregious is the plot line with the I hate to put the mother and the mother-son murderer, the son murderer aside for a second, but like we have to talk about the delivery boy murderer.
Right.
Forget
Stanley
his obsession
Dietz.
forget his obsession with Lindsay. Let's put that aside for a second. Just like the writing of that character, of all the bad guys we've had, and we've had some scene chewy characters. You're telling me that like the idea of like, let's make this guy clearly mentally ill, clearly just terribly silly. I mean, the oversized package of the girl's body, the rocking in the rocking chair, the 3 delivery suits, the stalking Lindsay outside of the news thing. It is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And we had an actual Hannibal Lecter actually noted as a Hannibal Lecter carbon copy episode. Mm-hmm. And this is still more ridiculous than that. I can't even understand how somebody greenlit that this is what we should do. And then on top of that, to have, quite frankly, our smartest lawyer, Lindsay has been established as like this wonder kid of like law and litigative skill, just completely basically enable this guy. And they don't set up the stakes as to why. It's not even like, is it because they're old buddies? No, she clearly makes that clear. Is it because he's a little off and so she feels like she has to protect him? It doesn't even really, it just feels like she's fed up with him half the time. And then they have the scene where he's in the room with the mom and there's all this, they set all these chess pieces like there's some big move coming, but no, she's just going to deliver the body in a big brown box and nobody saw it happen. And then he gets away and then he kills the guy. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, there's jumping the shark because you can run out of steam, and there's doing things for sweeps, and there's Bobby McGran, but there's all that. And then there's just an episode where you're like, what the fuck are we doing? There's too much talent across the board for this to happen. Yeah. I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad. No, I am mad. I'm mad and disappointed. And I'm pissed now because now I'm sad for Bobby and Lindsay. Like, at least it was something that, just pretend for me, Jesus. Wait till I turn 18 at least. Maybe yes. I'm mourning my watching my parents, but I'm not. I didn't need this too. It's fucking Christmas, man. On top of everything, David E. Kelly, come on now.
Yeah. Now,
wait. Hold on.
Oh yeah.
So I'm opening the present, Keith. You know, David E. Kelly's reaching into his stocking right now. This episode before Christmas airs, and he's not pulling out even a 5. He's pulling out 3.9 spare tires.
Wow. Whoa, shots fired. Yeah. As I was watching this, especially the second time going through it, I'm thinking, Mike, have you ever written something when you've maybe had a couple of cocktails and probably shouldn't be writing at that particular moment?
Yeah, usually why'd you break up with me emails, but yes.
Yeah. It's like, you know, you get that idea, you know, you're like 2 cocktails past
This is gonna work.
Where you should be, and you're like, oh my God, what a great idea. I'm gonna dive into this, and it all makes sense and it's beautiful, and you see the Matrix, and it's so cool and so exciting. And then, like, you wake up the next morning and you've maybe got a little bit of a headache. Like, it wasn't like blackout, but you maybe got just a touch of a headache. And you realize that you reread what you wrote, and it's both ripping off, like, the last episode of television you saw, plus, like, I already wrote this song, but, like, this is worse. And it's just an incoherent mess that you should just select all delete and be like, yeah, no, that's not something that should exist. Well, this time they were like, perfect, green light, go. With that, like, you know, and I have to say, you know, there's a lot of, like, there are three elements here I would like to talk about. One, we've talked about ad nauseum, but we keep saying it because you keep doing it, and that is the obsession with serial killer obsessions.
Yeah, so much that we're like, let's put 2 in one episode.
Right. There's like, all right, so this is the 5th serial killer obsessed with Lindsay. Let's do that and have another one obsessed with Helen. So, you know, because that'll make it better. So, serial killer aside, my God. Right? Put that in one box. The Bobby Lindsay stuff, right? I don't dislike it. Like, it's a bit of a bummer, but of all the things in this episode, that feels like it's actually been set up a little bit.
Don't disagree.
And that feels realistic based on what we know of these characters. Is it a little depressing? Yeah. I mean, and if you zoom out a little bit, we're 6 episodes from the end of this season, right? And in the real world, this show was in real danger of being canceled, right? So if I'm David E. Kelley, there's got to be an awareness that I might be 6 episodes away from the series finale of this episode.
And so you split up the central character romance?
And it feels like an odd place to go with the runway running out. And, you know, and this has happened. This has happened in various shows, long-running shows. I mean, it happened in Buffy. There's a lot of like, oh, we're going to like make you care about these 2 people, and then we're going to break them up and then end. And, you know, in this case, that's not what ended up happening, but in terms of the renewal of the show. But it was sort of an odd choice to go here now. It's a great way to, I think it's a perfectly valid and interesting storyline if you know you're continuing. But at this point, we don't know that. So, all right, so that's part 2. Part 3, I am actually going to, after we've eviscerated David E. Kelley this week, I'm going to let him off the hook a little bit and say the absurdity of the character and the inconsistency of the performances, right? The inconsistency of the performances and the absurdity of Stanley Deeks and all of his costume changes and all the gags. Well, what happened between last episode and this episode? We had a new director who had never directed on this show before. And I'm thinking that some of the tonal inconsistencies, he didn't it feels like a director who'd never seen an episode of the show before and thought like, oh, let's just get, you know, like costume changes and let's do the whole thing. And how clever it's going to be. He's got a new thing every time. And they gave Deke so many costumes that Jamie didn't even get one. Jamie just had to wear street clothes because they had the costume budget was blown on the serial killer. And so, and I feel that way, and also possibly how he directed Leslie Ann Warren, and that it's almost like some of the problems with this episode might have been direction.
Okay, hold on.
It looked good. Yeah, go ahead.
I take your point, but before you adjudicate, let me just say, to use your analogy from before, let's say you write your new musical, Keith,
right?
But you had so much nog. You drank all that nog, and then you still put up that workshop, right?
Yeah.
The first paragraph is going to be like, you know what, this show sucked balls, but he was wasted. So, we're going to have to like judge it with that bell curve, right? It doesn't work that way. The episode still is the episode.
Oh, I'm not. No, believe me, it'll be reflected in the tires. I'm just, okay. I'm sort of doing a post-mortem of like what I think might have happened, less than like I'm placing the blame in the correct categories is what I'm trying to do. I'm not saying there's no blame to go around. There's
but
plenty.
Even if like what ways could they? Okay, what ways could they have directed the it's still on the page, right? Like him delivering the box and the hint, like that shit. No matter which way directed, even if it was all dark and in black and white, it's still what it is.
Well, but there's a way, like you delete the costume changes, you make the performance more grounded, more believable, and you make the character work consistent. Maybe it's not good, but it's not laughable. Like you're not playing it for comedy. But see, they kind of shot themselves in the foot because had the other serial killer, the son, his sort of like manipulative, stoic, sort of back and forth performance, had that been the delivery guy, yeah, we're on to something. But you can't do that because we've already got that in the episode. And so what can they do? They made him like a little brother. Like he wanted Lindsay to love him, yes, but it felt more like I want her to respect me. He played it like little brother. You know what I mean? Needy little brother, which is that's a storyline that I could go with that storyline. You just don't play it for comedy. Yeah. Right? If you want to play for like the conflicting emotional stakes of a serial killer who's compromised in some fashion, like and what do you do then as a lawyer? Like I don't know. That's interesting. It's just not like
right. Like had this little girl arc with him been played throughout the whole season or over a bunch of episodes, and like the escalation of his obsession and his other murder of the guy, like there was opportunity there, but they do this thing where they often like squeeze it in an episode or two, and it feels makes it lose. It is TV.
They played it like a clown show. It became a quick change, like gag, and is completely inconsistent for Lindsay's character.
I actually became disappointed by the third real video because all he had was a clipboard. It wasn't even have a good costume. I thought he'd go from like bike delivery guy to bellhop to like the next one. It should have been something absurd.
I mean, if you're gonna play it for comedy, you got to follow the rule of threes.
It should have been like a Teddygram.
It should have been a singing telegram.
Yeah,
I'm here at your door and I'm gonna cut off your face.
Fade to black.
That you let me into your place. Yeah, that's that. See, now that would have been funny at least, even if it were terrible. All right, so it's not good. It's not good. It's not good at all. I'm gonna give it. Oh, that's right. I gave the Rosanna Arquette thing 4.7, and this was worse than that. So I'm gonna give it a 4.13.
Oh, it's not a good average. I think that gives us like exactly on the nose 4. Yeah.
4.015. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
It's not.
Well, folks, stick around next week to find out whether or not we think it's good. But first off, it's not hard to figure out what the Easter egg is this time.
No, but the good news is that box at least is still sealed. So let me just give you some advice. Don't open it. Just take it right to Kohl's. They didn't even ask to see a receipt, and return that shit. All right.
Well, if you would like to return this podcast to Kohl's, I'm sure you could get some Kohl's cash for it. But when you do, contact us and let us know what you got at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com, on Facebook and Instagram at outofpracticepodcast. While you're on it, don't leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave Kohl's a review on Apple Podcasts. They need the help as much as we do. Our box store industry is really struggling these days. But, you can join the jury. We'll happily read your comments, find out what you bought for Kohl's cash, And if you would like to send us cash in real cash or Cole's cash, you can join these founding sponsors: Jorge Navoa, Cloud Lover 69, Leanne Rice, Jennifer Masanova, and Kari Kuhn.
Hey, we appreciate you guys. It's the holidays. We wish you and your families, a couple of days off, hopefully, and the best of luck. If you want to give us cash this week, I'm not asking for it. I'm not even putting the links in the show notes. Take that cash, donate it to a charity of your choice. Find something to help the victims of COVID, the victims of anything, your charity of choice. Donate that money instead. It's more needed. Guys, we appreciate you. And next time you hear the Amazon guy knocking on your door, don't expect a body. You might just get some laser sounds.
Laser sounds.
Yeah, I gave it a go.
They tried.
Happy holidays.